The rain was falling hard that evening, drenching the quiet suburban street in a grey, mournful haze. Cars rushed by, tires hissing over wet pavement, everyone in a hurry to get somewhere warm, safe, comfortable. But in the middle of that world of shelter and routine, a bruised woman stood trembling near the roadside, holding a little girl whose shoes were soaked and whose small fingers clung tightly to her mother's sweater. The woman's face was marked with fresh pain, streaked with fear, her eyes wide and searching for even a sliver of help. When she stepped forward and knocked gently on the window of the silver sedan that had slowed near the crosswalk, she barely had the strength to lift her hand. The man inside, a stranger, could have pressed the gas and driven away. Many would have, but he didn't. He stayed, and everything changed because of that one choice. If you believe in kindness, second chances, and the quiet heroes walking among us, please like, comment, share, and subscribe. Your support helps us tell more real, life-changing stories like this one. The woman's name was Emily. Once, she had been someone who laughed freely, someone who believed life always turned toward the good. She had grown up in a small town in Ohio, where summers were loud with children's games and winters were spent bundled inside with warm cocoa and family stories. She had dreamed of becoming a teacher and had even taken college courses before life veered in a direction she hadn't expected. She met a man named Ryan at a summer music festival, a man who charmed her with easy confidence, who knew how to make her feel seen. At first it felt like destiny. He brought her flowers just because, called her beautiful every morning, and talked excitedly about their future. She trusted him, loved him, built a life with him. And then slowly, almost unnoticeably at first, his warmth turned into something colder, sharper. The criticisms were quiet and subtle at the beginning. Then the anger began showing in small bursts. Then the apologies. Then the honeymoon phase sweetness that convinced her to stay. And then the cycle repeated, only this time the anger was louder, and the pain sharper, and the apologies thinner and less believable. Years passed like that, and Emily found herself shrinking into a version of herself she no longer recognized. The little girl clinging to her side in the rain was named Lily. She was 6 years old, with a quiet heart and gentle eyes. She didn't deserve to see the things she saw, but children always understand more than adults think. Lily knew when to stay quiet. She knew what it meant to tiptoe around moods and weather storms that had nothing to do with the sky. And when Emily finally found the courage to leave, it was for Lily, not for herself, because every time she looked at her daughter, she saw the hope she thought she'd lost. That night, the storm had not been just outside. It had been in the house. Emily had finally screamed back, stood her ground, shielded her daughter, and Ryan, furious, had thrown a glass across the room and told her she'd never make it on her own, that she had nowhere to go, that no one would help her. But those words, cruel as they were, sparked something inside her. She knew she could no longer stay, so she grabbed a single bag, just a few clothes, Lily's favorite stuffed rabbit, and what little money she had hidden away, and they left. They walked through rain down streets that seemed unfamiliar though she'd lived there for years, until they reached the main road. Emily felt weak. Her knees shook. Her face throbbed where Ryan's hand had struck her. But she kept walking because stopping meant going back, and going back meant losing herself forever. That was when the silver sedan approached. The man driving was named Michael. He was on his way home from work, his mind filled with thoughts of grocery lists, emails he hadn't answered, and the mundane details of everyday life. He wasn't looking. For a moment that would shift the course of his life. And yet, when he saw the woman and child by the roadside, something inside him stirred, a memory of his own mother, years ago, standing in the rain outside a locked apartment door after his father had stormed out. He slowed down without quite knowing why. When Emily knocked on his window, she didn't beg, she didn't cry, she simply looked at him with a quiet, exhausted hope that broke him open. Michael lowered the window and asked if she was all right, and though her voice trembled, she explained that she needed somewhere safe, just for a moment, that she needed to keep moving, that she didn't know where to go, but she couldn't go back. Michael didn't hesitate. He unlocked the doors. He didn't question her bruises, though they were painfully visible. He didn't ask why she left or whether she had tried hard enough to fix things. He didn't ask the kind of questions that made people feel small or ashamed. He simply said he would take her somewhere safe. Emily sat in the passenger seat, holding Lily close. The warmth of the car was overwhelming. She hadn't realized how cold she'd been until the heater began to run. She stared out the window, watching raindrops race down the glass, her breath shaky but quiet. Lily rested her head on her mother's shoulder and finally closed her eyes, exhaustion pulling her into a fragile sleep. Michael drove them to a women's shelter he knew of. His sister had volunteered there before she passed away. On the drive, Emily told him pieces of her story, not everything, just enough to let him understand. Michael didn't try to fix her problems or offer grand promises. He simply listened. And that alone felt like the greatest kindness she had received in years. The shelter welcomed her warmly. The director, a gentle woman named Teresa, placed a soft blanket around Lily's shoulders and guided them inside. Emily felt a rush of relief so powerful it made her knees nearly buckle. She was safe. For the first night in a long, long time, she was safe. But safety wasn't the end of her story. Healing is not a straight line. In the weeks that followed, Emily learned how to breathe again in spaces that weren't filled with fear. She applied for work, slowly rebuilt her confidence, and found strength in the small community of women there who understood her pain because they had lived it too. They became each other's sisters in survival. And Michael? He didn't disappear from their lives after dropping them off. He checked in. He brought donations to the shelter, not because he felt obligated, but because he cared. He saw in Emily and Lily something worth protecting, something worth believing in. And over time, Emily began to trust him, carefully, slowly, not as a rescuer, but as a friend. Months passed, and Emily found a job at a local library, quiet, warm, surrounded by books and stories and children's laughter. Lily attended a nearby school where she made new friends and learned to raise her hand without fear. Emily worked hard, saved what she could, and eventually, with help from the shelter and local programs, moved into a small apartment. It wasn't large, but it was theirs. The first night they slept there, Emily made pancakes for dinner because it felt like a celebration, and Lily giggled when the batter sizzled in the pan. Michael visited now and then. He had become part of their world in a gentle, steady way. Not rushing, not demanding, just present. One evening, months after that rainy night, Emily stood by her living room window, the setting sun casting a warm glow across the room. Lily was coloring at the table, and Emily felt something she hadn't felt in years. Peace. Real, soft, quiet peace. She realized that life had not broken her. Life had tested her, tried to crush her, buried her under weight she didn't deserve, but she had clawed her way out, step by trembling step. And she wasn't alone anymore. If this story touched your heart, please remember to like, comment, share, and subscribe. Your engagement helps keep stories of hope, strength, and compassion alive on this channel. Before we end, we would love to hear from you. Please comment below. I believe kindness can change a life if you felt the power of this story. Emily's story is a reminder that sometimes the smallest act of compassion, a pause, a choice not to turn away, can save a life. And sometimes the bravest thing someone can do is simply leave.